Never gets old.
Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN The Hub's Fantasy Baseball Waiver Wire Show. It has been every Thursday at 4:45 p.m. Eastern, 1:45 p.m. Pacific, but today we're coming at you at 4:47 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, we're a bit late. We're not going to be here for the rest of the season for baseball. We are going to start up football. We're still here for baseball, by the way. If you have questions, put them in one of the comments of any of the chats of the former waiver wires. We will get back to you. We'll still help you with pickups. So we know you're still working at the season to win. It's go time. We got it. We got to finish this up. The season's long. We got people to pick up. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. I'm here as usual with Kasey, Vlad to the Bone, Shienvold, and Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss. And I want to talk fantasy baseball waiver wire with you, Cowboy. See my baseball? Autographed by CC Sabathia of the Yankees. Talking about the Yankees, wow. Talking about a team that's just fell off the face of the earth, Kasey Shienvold. You're the Yankee fan. And the Yankees have just exploded in the bad way. I mean, they could barely win. They won last night, but before that, it was like a losing streak, no hitting, shutout games. It's been a disaster for you Yankees.
I still have faith in my Yankees, but
they're playing unbelievable. The Yankees are horrible.
But I'll say this about the Yankees, and I still believe in them. They've built up a big enough lead. But the Yankees are one of those teams that when they're winning, they look like they're never going to lose. And when they're losing, they lose so ugly, they look like they'll never win again. So it's really hard being a Yankees fan, but they're still fine. They're going to be good.
Well,
no worries here.
To win the National League right now are the New York Mets.
Wait. Well, everybody, we need to hold on because Kasey just said the words, it's really hard to be a Yankees fan. I'm sorry. That has to be framed somewhere. We have a long history of winning.
I agree.
We do, but we haven't won since 2009.
Oh, my God. Do I feel for you?
Kasey, you guys
the Cleveland franchise, which is now not even the same franchise.
They haven't won in my children's lifetime.
I mean, the last time they won was 1948. Now, listen, we have two of our favorite fans here. We've got Jamal and Just Bob are here. And Just Bob, by the way, is a Yankees fan. So we've got Kasey and Just Bob, and Ross decides to rub the Yankees in their face. My apologies.
I would be wearing your Yankee hat right now. If I was you, Bob and Kasey, I would be ashamed.
I'm proud. Don't worry.
All right, guys, let's jump in with pickups.
Wow.
People want help with this. Jamal has a comment here. He says, Dustin May looks like the, capital THE, the waiver wire pickup of the week. Certainly looks like a big one. I had recommended stashing him long ago, and so hopefully you scooped him up earlier. He'd be a great pickup. Guys, what do you think?
Oh, I agree. He's a great pickup. I don't think he's the best pitching pickup of the week because we do 60% and under-owned, and Edward Cabrera in Miami, the cover boy today, is just pitching better than almost anybody not named Jacob deGrom right now. In the past 2 weeks, no earned runs, 21 strikeouts, a .89 whip. Look, I believe in Dustin May, and he's certainly going to get you more wins because he's on the Dodgers. But Cabrera, to me, is the top pitching waiver wire pickup.
Ross, what do you say?
I loved Dustin May last year. I mean, him and Tony Gonsolin were the two Dodger phenoms a couple of years ago. May is a good pitcher. He's not like one of my top pickups when it comes to fantasy baseball for the week. But again, he has a great arm and he should have a really good September. So yes. Pick up May now.
Okay, we've got a comment coming in from Just Bob. He says, it's August. No one has won a World Series in August. And he is correct about that, of course. I mean, look, it could be. The Yankees got a little bored. They've already run away.
Get it out of their system now.
Listen, if I were a Yankees fan, I would not be so bothered by it.
Because wasn't it a few years ago, Dan? You can comment on this. Wasn't there like a period in September or late August, early September where the then Indians, now Guardians, won like 22 games in a row?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the hot streak ended. So I'd rather be cold now.
You want your hot streak in late September and October.
I'd rather have a hot streak in April and then get really cold in September so I can go on vacation in October. Get it?
Yeah, that's true. And for people who don't
spoken like a Reds fan.
Okay, now Just Bob does say Cabrera is fire, so he's totally there with us. And then Just Bob said Dodgers should use May as their closer. What do you think about that?
Their closer has been very
lost for words.
Yeah, I mean, their closer has been fine this year. They tried May as a closer last year and the year before, and he just isn't that great as a closer role. They tried it already, the Dodgers. I know that because I live here. And he just doesn't have the mentality as a closer. You got to have the mentality as a closer to do it, you know? Closers are a whole different mindset than starters. It's a whole different thing. And May doesn't have that. May's not that guy.
All right, interesting. We'll see what the response is to that. Guys, let's jump in with just a few of our top pickups. Kasey, who are maybe one of your top 2 pickups?
Well, I said Edward Cabrera, but the other one I'm going to name is Vinnie Pasquantino in Kansas City. Their top prospect who they called up months ago finally is delivering on all that potential. And in the last 2 weeks, a .442 average with 5 home runs. The average doesn't matter that much anymore. Obviously, we're at the point of the season where if you're in a rotisserie league, you have enough at bats that you could go 0 for everything from here on out, and it probably wouldn't move your batting average but 1 or 2 points. But you get somebody who's hot, who's batting that good at average with power, and they're going to hit more home runs because they're putting the ball in play more. So he would be my top pickup in the field.
All right, and Ross, who would you say for hitters and pitchers? Give us one each.
Well, the story that I love is this 30-year-old rookie. He's been in the minors for minors and made up and down all like crazy through his career. Is Joey Meneses? Did I say it right, Case?
I don't think so.
Meneses. Thank you, Meneses. Plays for the Nationals. 30 years old. He has like a 8 or 9 game hitting streak. He has a huge hitting streak going on. The past 2 weeks, he's hitting like .340 with 6 home runs. This guy is barely owned in any leagues. He's a streaker. I picked him up in our rotisserie league. I'm starting him. This guy is just killing the ball. And this happens to 2 or 3 guys a season. Like they'll bring some guy up that's never really had any major league experience, and he just explodes. And this is what the guy's doing. I don't know if he'll keep it up, but if I was you, I would pick him up now and just ride the wave until it splashes. But I love this guy. He's not a kid. He's 30 years old, but I believe that he'll keep it going. And the Nationals, again, somebody has to play on the team, and they play San Diego today. So pick him up, see what happens. Another guy that I love is Tommy Pham for the Red Sox. He's been destroying the ball. He's been destroying Pittsburgh hitting. He plays Pittsburgh again today. He's been hitting home runs. He's been getting doubles. He's been getting RBIs the past 2 weeks. He's a great pickup right now, and I think he'll just keep it up through to the end of the season. He's somebody you should pick up and just start every week. He's that good, Tommy Pham. And I know he likes to fight. I know he's a slapper. Jock Peterson can testify to that, but doesn't matter. Pick up Tommy Pham. Do it now.
All right, I'm going to just mention mine really quickly. I had made Vaughn Grissom a kind of priority pickup. He's now up to 61%. But when I recommended this, he was below 60. Second base, shortstop. He is the son of Marquise Grissom, who I loved watching. I hated when we traded Kenny Lofton for him. Then I really liked him, and then we brought Kenny Lofton back anyway. So it all worked out. Vaughn Grissom, I think he's a great pickup for middle infield.
Is he a shortstop or second base? He's second base.
He plays
right?
both. He's a shortstop, but they have Swanson playing short, so they're putting him at second.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And he's eligible at both.
I see him at both, so that's what I'm asking.
Then George Kirby, starting pitcher. He's got huge talent. We've talked about him a lot this year, but he's pitching really well right now, and he's got that talent. I think he's really starting to figure it out. I think we pick him up. So let's move to catchers, guys. Ross, give me your top pickup at catcher.
Here's a quick question for you guys. If you guys get it right, I'll buy you dinner, okay? What catcher is leading the league in home runs this season? Kasey Shienvold, who is it?
William Contreras.
Dan Ratner?
I was going to guess Dalton Varsho, but I don't think it is.
Cal Raleigh. Seattle Mariners.
Wow, I would not have gotten there.
So you guys owe me dinner, Master.
No. That was not the arrangement. Let's rewind the tape here. We have this all on tape. You offered dinner if we got it. That was it.
Okay, fine. I tried to trick you. But 11% owned in leagues. His average is around 250. If you want power and a guy that plays every day, pick up Cal Raleigh. He's doing great. Another guy that I mentioned before, just because he had so much potential when they drafted him. Is Jacob Stallings of the Marlins. The past 2 weeks, Kasey Shienvold, 357. 357 for a catcher. And he's a big kid. He's like 6'7", big guy. I mean, he's great. So he's actually, now he's starting to like hit. And the Marlins, again, they're not a bad team. As we talked about, their pitching staff, really, really good. And Stallings is their starting catcher. So those two guys I like a lot.
All right, wait, couple of comments to come in. I had the same joke in my mind, just Bob. He said Pham is a slap hitter. When he said he was a slapper, I was immediately thinking he was just slapping it the other way. So I'm right there with you.
The five fingers Pham, we call him.
Yep. Now, just Bob did say about Craig Crumble. He's falling apart. And he said, but seriously, Gratterall will be the closer for the Dodgers. This is
another guy that's not stable, but
okay. But he says he's coming off the IL. Grab him.
And throws 101 mile an hour.
He does, but he throws it right down the middle and he destroys. Trust me, I watched him close games. He's not good.
All right, this is interesting. We're going to see whether just Bob comes through on this one or Ross the Boss. Now, for catcher, I just want to mention one guy. We've been talking about this guy throughout the season, but William Contreras.
Yep.
He looks great. The joking side of me always wants to call him Bill Contreras because there's no way he would go by that, but he's been doing great. In the last 2 weeks, he's the 89th ranked player in Yahoo overall, 308 average, 3 homers, 6 RBIs. If you do total base leagues, which our league has like 150 categories, and he's got 27 total bases. So that's some good stuff. Kasey, who do you have?
Well, the guys you mentioned, William Contreras was my top pickup, but I'm going to mention the New York Mets prospect, Francisco Alvarez. I've talked about him on here before. They just called up Brett Beatty to play third base for them. And so they're showing a likeliness and a willingness to call up their young players when they're playing well. Francisco Alvarez, if he starts hitting, they're going to call him up, and he'll be on a really good team during the stretch run, which is a great player to invest in.
All right. Ross, let's move to first base. Who do you have
really
there
quick? A catcher, Joey Bart, San Francisco, is one mentioned the past.
Joey Bart? Mm-hmm.
Hitting .435 the past 2 weeks. He just got off the IR. He's healthy. He's playing. He plays every day almost. So if you need a catcher that's going to be hitting, Joey Bart's going to do that in September. So pick up Bart if you need a catcher too.
And he was a number 1 pick, wasn't he?
He was number 1. That very good memory.
In baseball, the number 1 pick doesn't usually mean the same thing, but still, that's impressive.
Oh, he was drafted very high draft pick. I remember when they picked him.
All right, Ross, how about first base?
First base, Kasey mentioned him. He mentioned him 2 weeks ago. He mentioned 3. Vinnie.
Pasquantino.
Oh, no, you should have let him pronounce it. That was the whole thing.
Has been hitting unbelievable, over 400 the past 2 weeks. But he's actually somebody, when they brought him up, he didn't really hit it all, Kasey. I thought you missed the mark. And I got to say, you didn't miss the mark. You hit the mark. My name is Ross Mark, and you hit the mark. And that all being said, Vinny's a great pickup right now if you need a first baseman. He's on fire. And I mentioned Joey already, Menendez. And those 2 guys are my top 2 pickups at first base.
All right, now listen. Do you guys know what Vinnie Pasquantino ranks in Yahoo over the last 2 weeks? What's his number ranking?
36.
In a standard category, he ranks 5th in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
22.
Well, fifth in standard categories, and if you have 150 categories like in our league, 4th. I don't know how he moves up, but he did. Just Bob calls him Vinny Bag of Donuts. First base in baseball. I mean, there are these athletes like John Kruk who can get in there that couldn't play any other sport. Gotta love it. Kasey, who else do you have at first base?
The only other ones, he mentioned 2 very good ones, obviously, is I still think Nathaniel Lowe in Texas is doing an adequate job to consider rostering. He continues to hit for a decent average with some power, even stole a base in the last 2 weeks, which he's not known for, so I wouldn't expect that to continue. And Luke Voit in Washington, I know we talked about Meneses, and he's certainly the better story, but Luke Voit is probably the more solidified first baseman in terms of playing time in Washington, and we've seen him hit a lot of homers in a brief period of time.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
I love Luke Voit in September. It's a great pickup. I agree 100% with you.
I'm gonna do a deep dive here. Do you guys know Lamonte Wade?
From San Francisco Giants?
Don't forget Junior, because we're not talking about his dad.
That's right, not his dad.
Yes,
don't pick up Lamonte Wade Sr.
I love Lamonte Wade. Why? You like him?
he's hitting very well, and he has 8 homers in like 100 at bats. He's the 39th ranked Yahoo player over the last 2 weeks. So if you're looking for somebody that you can pick up for cheap, look, they're all cheap. They're on the wire, but he's 5% rostered. So not many people know about him. I think if you're really hurting for somebody, he's the guy I'd probably take a chance on outside of the guys you mentioned. Vinnie Pasquantino is obviously the big pickup. Nathaniel Lowe, kind of a safer backup. Okay, second base, Case, I'll start with you.
Second base, who do I have? I have David Fletcher in the Los Angeles Angels at Anaheim. I figured he's like David Eckstein reborn, if you remember Eckstein back from the World Series days.
By the way, David Eckstein, not dead, but just not playing.
David Eckstein, not Jewish either.
Not Jewish.
I got to work with David a long time ago on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno when they won the World Series with the Angels. And I thought he was Jewish. He wasn't. He corrected me very quickly. But he also went to the University of Florida, which he had some great stories about, which I'll talk about later.
Okay, now I know you were in the middle of a David Fletcher statement, but I got to say, he just said that he corrected him very quickly about being Jewish. What does that mean? Was he upset about being Jewish?
He gets mixed up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets it all.
Long story short.
All right, Kasey, back to David Fletcher.
I'm Jewish, so I could say it. The Jewish people love to take credit for Jewish athletes, okay?
It's true. We do.
So I don't want to eat letters.
The other guy I'm going to mention is ranked right behind him in the last 2 weeks, and that's Nico Horner in Chicago. Because, he's batting .367, which is awesome. He's got a home run and 6 RBIs, which is awesome. But he's got 3 stolen bases. And if you're in a rotisserie league this late in the season, nothing is going to move the needle. And I focused a lot on stolen bases today on the waiver wire. Nothing's going to move the needle more than a category like stolen bases, which are so rare. 3 can gain you 2 or 3 points over the course of a couple weeks. So I love the fact that he's running. And so he's another second baseman I would pick up.
Okay, now that's part of the reason I mentioned Vaughn Grissom, by the way, because he's got 2 stolen bases in the last 2 weeks as well as 2 homers. So he can do it all. You guys know I've talked about Nico Horner for how many weeks straight? It's been 14 weeks straight or something.
We know. I'm tired of Nico Horner's. He's like, all we talk about is Nico Horner this, Nico Horner that.
But he's still at 51%. He went through a bad period for about 2 weeks, and I just didn't lose any faith in him, and I shouldn't have.
Another guy, the Cubs. No one wants the player from the Cubs.
But you yourself always are saying, don't forget the bad teams.
Do the Cubs have one player that's over 60%? In all seriousness, do they have one player that's over 60%?
That's a really good question. Over 60? When David Robertson got dealt, I think that may have been it. It's interesting. Well, I'll check into that while you're speaking next. But
Is Ian Happ over 60%?
Oh, I think
Happ could be.
I think he is.
Because
and Wilson Contreras.
Wilson Contreras, yeah.
Because Ratner hates him, it means people will want him on the team.
Yeah, by the way, I do not hate Ian Happ.
You don't.
We do this every week.
Kasey, does he hate him, yes or no?
Well, it's not quite Hunter Dozier.
I actually love these guys because Ross brings them up and I get to go bananas about how they're overrated.
It's
especially
a trigger.
Hunter Dozier.
You mentioned Hunter Dozier's name, that's a trigger.
Well, okay, try it.
Edgar Renteria.
Oh, now that's a trigger. Oh, my God. You say that to a Cleveland fan. All right. Just Bob has given Nico the rubber stamp. He says, yes, Nico is good. I couldn't agree more, Just Bob. All right. One guy I want to mention is Bryson Stott. Young player on the Phillies, second base and shortstop eligible. He's hitting the ball very well, 356 over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, those averages aren't going to keep up. And Kasey made the point, especially
2 stolen bases.
And especially in rotisserie leagues, the average isn't going to it's diminishing returns on average, generally speaking. So look to the counting stats, and especially if you've got games to make up, you got to be searching for that right now. Fill in those games because you only have so much time. Ross, who do you have at second base that you'd have?
Second baseman for me this week wasn't the greatest position, but he's actually a shortstop too. Is Jose Iglesias, to all the girls I loved before. Jose Iglesias, no relation to the Iglesias singing family, but this guy has been hitting over 300 like the whole month of July and August. This guy's been on fire. He's not going to have any power, but he gets on base. He actually steals a few bases. But Jose Iglesias is a guy that's not going to hurt your team at all if you need him at second base.
All right, let's move to shortstop. Case, I'll let you start again first.
Well, I had Bryson Stott listed as a shortstop. I think that's a great pickup. And just to mention, Fletcher and Horner also play short. The only other shortstop I have on my list today is actually a prospect, and that's Oswaldo Peraza of the New York Yankees. I'm a Yankees homer. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa hasn't been doing much. The Yankees offense hasn't been doing much if they're looking for a spark. Again, it's a deep flyer. I don't know if it's going to happen, but the kid's been playing really well at AAA. And if he gets into that Yankees lineup and can get on base, the sky's the limit for the counting stats he can put up.
Kasey, you're going to love this. I started watching The Captain recently.
Oh, I love
the Jeter
that
documentary. It's really, really good. And I have to say, enough time has passed that I love watching that team. I'm like, oh, God,
I watched
amazing.
all the episodes, Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm not a Yankee guy, as you guys know.
Did anybody watch Sunday Night Baseball, the K-Rod, where they had A-Rod and Jeter on together?
I did not. I heard about it. I did not watch it.
And Roger Clemens.
It's amazing how much cooler Derek Jeter is than A-Rod, like just in every way. Like they're sitting next to each other and you see cool and tool. They rhyme, but they're not the same.
I like the story when they did that photo shoot together and
the shirtless one,
and they said never again. They'd never do another photo shoot
again
together.
Who knew that was going to go wrong? Two men with their shirts off having pictures.
There were five of them. It was all the shortstops. It was A-Rod and
Nomar,
Tejada and Nomar and Jeter
and Felix Fermin. No,
right.
That's not the
David Concepcion.
Walt Weiss.
David Concepcion. Honus Wagner. Honus Wagner was really old.
Who's that, Aparicio?
Yeah, I mean, Honus Wagner did not belong in that shoot.
With the shirt off.
You got shortstops, Ross?
So you mentioned Fletch. As you know, I'm a big Angel fan. I do like the Angels in the American League, and he is playing well ever since he got off the IR. Another guy we mentioned before, he plays every position, is Nick Gordon. I mean, Nick's hitting over 300 the past 2 weeks, and he plays like 5 positions, Dan, I want to say. I mean, he's just utility. But again, he's another guy that's not going to hurt you having on your team. If you need a shortstop, pick up Nick Gordon.
Okay, well, another guy that's like that I don't like this guy in the long run, but if he's hitting well right now, you could scoop him up. Christian Arroyo qualifies as second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. And he could help you out. You know, if somebody's injured and you need to plug somebody in, he's kind of my Edwin Diaz of the week. Edwin Diaz is on the IL now.
Yeah.
So I had to cut him. One other guy to mention, and I don't really know what to think about him, is Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong is hitting really well right now. But
I mean, he was hitting really well.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks he fell in the tank, I think.
The last well, it might have been the last week, because the last 2 weeks he's ranked 64th overall.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, he did everything 2 weeks ago. He was a streaker. Kasey and I talked about him when you were vacationing.
Yeah, he's having a bad week. I just checked. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, he's Kasey and I were all on top of him, and unfortunately, he's not hitting that well right now.
Well, how about
Paul DeJong?
How about Ha-Seong Kim? He's
I like him.
Very well this week.
Sayonara. Yes, he's a.
Did you say sayonara? That's the wrong. Player. That's the wrong Asian race for.
Konnichiwa.
Oh my God, he's Korean.
Let's just move on. Let's go to third base, Dan. I'll help you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Groovy T says Vinnie P. Vinnie P is on everybody's mind. Let's go to third base.
Third base.
Okay, Ross, you start us off.
Emmanuel Rivera, Arizona D-back, plays third base, 324, Kasey Shienvold, the past 2 weeks, 4 home runs. He's been destroying the ball in Arizona. No one knows who this guy is. I mean, I had no idea. When they brought him up, I had to look him up. I had no idea. It was like, no idea. Never heard his name before. They brought him up. He's been destroying the ball. Great pickup if you need a third baseman. He's the definition of a streaker. So pick him up now. I don't know how long he's going to hit for, but if you look at the stats for Arizona, he's in the stats book every night. I mean, this guy's just been on fire. For me, he's the number one pickup when it comes to third basemen right now.
Case, how about you?
I'm going to name somebody you actually just picked up in our rotisserie league, and that's Rougned Odor. He qualifies at second. He plays mostly second in Baltimore, but he also qualifies at third. Last couple weeks, he has a couple stolen bases to go along with his home runs. Again, I said I'm pressing the counting stats, even though he's batting 300. And then another guy you own. Wow, Nolan Gorman is back again. Second base, third base in St. Louis, batting over 300, couple home runs, getting on base at a pretty good clip right now. And to be a part of that St. Louis team, which seems like one of the hottest teams in the National League right now, other than the Dodgers, is not a bad spot to be.
I'll even take the lesser side of Nolan Gormanado. Anytime.
There you go.
All right, Groovy T says, I love Kim. I'm a Padres fan. He's really stepping it up. That has to be huge for you guys, especially with the Fernando Tatis news. That blew me away, man.
Does anybody believe the ringworm medication excuse?
No. I mean, that's an old trick.
Yeah.
Dan and I used to use that in college all the time when we were in college together.
Yeah, in my crazy days, I was just using tons of ringworm medication.
Conmebol or whatever it is.
Dan was dealing it in the bathrooms at his college.
Like ringworm medication.
He actually would give people ringworm, so it looked like it was legit.
Groovy T is bringing up Brett Batty is getting at bats with Escobar out. So that's another guy to look at.
I mean, did you guys see his first game? His parents were there. And
he hit a home run. They went nuts.
He hit the ball really far. I mean, it wasn't like a cheap home run like Dan used to do in softball games. This was a real legitimate home run. And the place went nuts. I mean, it was and he went crazy. It was great to watch. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was unbelievable.
I did not get to see it, but Ross, I'm touched that you think I hit home runs in softball games. That's very pleasing to me. Now, a guy that I would pick up at third base, Josh Donaldson, 47% rostered. I know the Yankees aren't playing very well. I know that he's a longtime vet. I know that some people would say he's washed up, but you could do a lot worse than at third base than Josh Donaldson, because let's remember, third base has been the weakest position throughout this year.
Didn't he win an MVP for the A's one year? Was he an MVP winner?
Was it the A's or Toronto that he won the MVP for?
I want to say the A's.
I thought it was the A's. I'm going to look that up.
Look that up.
I bet Bob
the
knows.
Former MVP kind of came down to earth when he came to the Yankees, but he can still hit. I mean, I do like him. I'm surprised he's not over 60%.
I know, it is kind of surprising. Now, back to Brett Batty for a second. Groovy T says he hit the ball 113 miles an hour off the bat. I love that they've started measuring that.
I do too. I love
exit velocity. He says he's 90th percentile in hard hit home runs.
Ooh.
That's pretty good stuff.
Just the excitement when he ran around the bases and his family. It was just I had a tear in my eye. You know, you guys think I'm a strong guy. I don't cry, but Ross the Boss does have emotion. I do cry once in a while. You guys being leading psychologists know that I'm a normal person. I do have emotions, and I do cry when certain situations like that.
Yes, we can verify Ross is not a robot. Human being all the way. We've checked it out. Guys, let's move to outfield. Case, we'll start with you.
All right, I'm going to continue on my theme with stolen bases. I'm going to mention Jake McCarthy. He's not an everyday player in Arizona, but in the last 2 weeks, he's got 4 stolen bases, which is, again, that's what I'm looking for. And Sam Haggerty in Seattle has 3 stolen bases and is batting .324 in the last couple of weeks. They're not everyday players. They play about 70% of the time. But I would start putting them in on the days they're in that lineup just to get those counting stats.
That's a really good point. We got to plug in those players while we can. We have a question coming in from Just Bob. Did you guys mention Oswaldo Cabrera, third base of the Yankees? Case, you're a Yankees fan, so can you?
I didn't mention Oswaldo Cabrera. I mean, I mentioned Oswaldo Peraza, obviously. How weird is it that they have 2 Oswaldos? Very good young prospect.
And that's my middle name, Kasey. It's unbelievable.
That's your middle name, Ross Oswaldo. Waldo. Ross Waldo.
Ross Waldo.
That's what your name is from now on. Ross Waldo, the boss. El Jefe. I didn't mention him. I'm not sure how much playing time he's going to get. That's my concern. But I mean, he's got tools. That's for sure.
Groovy T has mentioned John Berti is back off the IL now. And he might be available in some leagues.
He's over 60% owned.
You know, I know, but I want to let people know he's 68% roster. That means he is available in a lot of leagues.
He's not been hitting. He's not been playing every day. He's not hitting that well.
I know that, Ross, but 30 stolen bases on the year.
I guess, but he can't get on base.
It depends. I mean, if you're in a rotisserie league and you need stolen bases,
fine. I'll get that. If he doesn't play every day, beware.
All right, no, I
beware, Kasey Shienvold. Beware.
I'm wary. I'm in.
Okay. I'm going to mention an outfielder who I think is a very worth pickup. It's A.J. Pollock. A.J. Pollock.
You love A.J. Pollock.
I know, I do. But the thing is, he does play well every time he's playing. Is he going to get injured? Yes, he does it all the time. But I say you ride the hot hand right now. And by the way, he could stay healthy for, 6 weeks.
And the White Sox are a hot team right now.
The White Sox are playing well. Yeah, that helps.
American League, Kasey Shienvold.
Oh, Ross, do we think that they can come back and win the World Series after all?
I hope so, because you and I picked them. I both picked them.
It would make us look like geniuses.
Playoffs.
Yep.
horrible start. Another guy that I want to mention that probably one of our co-hosts probably will start crying when I say his name because it was actually the downfall of his team is Joey Gallo.
Oh,
Joey Gallo was a Yankee.
good riddance.
Oh, what happened when
you want
left?
to mention the one I'm going to cry about? It's Jordan Montgomery. I got no problem with Joey Gallo being somewhere else, but Jordan Montgomery, that trade hurt.
Jordan Montgomery pitches for St. Louis now. He's been a solid rock ever since.
He's been awesome.
But Joey Gallo, he joined the Dodgers. The Dodgers were kind of stumbling a little bit, and they went on a huge winning streak. I want to say 11 games. Joey Gallo, his past 2 weeks, Kasey Shienvold, 261, which is really good for him. We know he's like a 200 hitter.
How many at-bats?
I don't care. I'm just telling you his stats.
It matters.
Three home
really
runs,
hot in 2 at-bats.
He's batting 1,000.
When he left your New York area and came to Los Angeles, how much of a downfall did your Yankees have when Gallo left? It was like when Babe Ruth left Boston. The same exact thing happened. So I'm comparing Joey Gallo. Yeah, I'm comparing the Babe Ruth. They're the same player. Same
All right, well,
status.
listen. Just Bob, another Yankees fan, agrees with Kasey and knows Pollock is hot right now. He says Monty will be missed.
You guys look at the wins and losses when Gallo left and when he joined the Dodgers.
No.
A pattern.
Listen, Just Bob is agreeing about Montgomery. He's saying Monty will be missed. I don't think.
Well, Montgomery again. There's a reason why they dealt him. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's not 100%. I don't know. But I thought that was
some players can't handle New York. LA is apparently easy living.
Okay, so Gallo is. I like Gallo. Just pick him up. I mentioned Tommy Pham, and you mentioned Lamonte Wade.
Lamonte Wade Jr.
Lamonte Wade Jr. I believe is it Jr. He's hitting over 300, 5 home runs, 8 RBIs in the past 2 weeks. He's been on fire. I mean, but he plays like three or four different positions. I like him a lot too, but I have him in outfield. So,
another guy to take a peek at is Jesse Winkery. He's not hitting for average still, but he's hit 3 home runs.
What's his percentage owned? How many?
55% roster.
He used to be like 80. He really dropped. People have been dumping him like Donald Trump. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yep. There's oh boy, that opens.
I'm swinging at that one. I'm not swinging at that one.
All right, now let's move to starting pitcher, Kasey. Who would be one of you mentioned Edward Cabrera as your top?
I
picker.
did. He's my top one. Another guy is Kyle Gibson. The Philadelphia Phillies are playing really good baseball right now. They're back in the playoff race, and Kyle Gibson has been pitching really well for them. He's their third starter behind Wheeler and Nola, obviously, are their 1-2. But he has been awesome. And anybody who watched the Angels, and for some reason I was watching them the other night, Jose Suarez was pitching really well.
Had a perfect game going on, Kasey Shienvold.
I don't know if he's a long-term answer, but in the last couple of weeks, he's got a 2.19 ERA, more than a strikeout an inning and a win. So that would be another starting pitcher I would look at.
Last week I talked about him, and I watched that Angel game when he pitched. He had a perfect game till the 5th inning, then he got destroyed. But, I mean, he's been, like, on fire the past month. He's been unbelievable.
All right, I'm going to mention Jeffrey Springs, Tampa Bay, a pitcher, 58% roster, so he's still really quite available. In the last 2 weeks, 16 inning pitch, 18 strikeouts, 2 wins. He's got a K per 9 inning over that. There's a lot to like here. I mean, he just isn't allowing a lot of runs, and he's playing on a fairly winning team. So I think you scoop up Jeffrey Springs is a no-brainer. I mentioned already George Kirby. I think he is a top priority pickup. Ross, who else do you have?
There's this guy that pitches for New York. Is he over 60? Jacob DeGrom? Is that how you say it?
Oh, yeah. He's a little over 60%.
And it's DeGrom.
So
yep,
DeGrom.
He never gets it right. He always calls it DeGrom.
You guys mentioned all the pitchers I wanted to talk about today.
All right, well, I'll tell you what.
Under 60. There's a couple of relief guys I like.
All right, let's move to relief.
Rodenwick of the Cubs, I like. He's been their closer already. 4 saves the past 2 weeks, ERA under 3. I know the Cubs won't win many games, but when they do and they need somebody to close, Wick is their guy. And then Jonathan Hernandez of the Texas Rangers, who just fired their president. I think they fired their GM also. The same. I think they fired.
Did they fire Chris Young? I knew they fired their manager. I didn't know if they fired the GM.
Oh yeah, they fired the president.
John Daniel.
They haven't had a winning season since 2016. So they're clearing house now. They're clearing house right now in Texas. But again, Hernandez, 3 saves, ERA under 3. Again, if you need some saves and you need some spark in your relief pitching, these guys are both good pickups right now.
I'm just going to mention there's a couple comments coming in. Groovy T says Brady Singer has been elite. Brady Singer 61% rosters. That's probably why we didn't
61.
mention it.
I liked him too. Yeah,
but great pickup. Just Bob is noting that Jesse Winker was a product of Cincinnati. It's the ball field. So
we know. Don't rub it in. I get it. I want him back.
Now, there are some comments about Johnny Cueto. I'm really curious what you guys think about it. They're saying Johnny Cueto seems to get it done every week. And
Johnny Cueto is the new Bartolo Colon. I think that guy's going to pitch till he's like 48. And because of all of his contortions that he can do and his ability to kind of confuse the hitter, like he's a solid pickup. Every year you think, oh, he's going to fall off the cliff this year. He's going to fall off the cliff this year. But he manages to confuse the hitters and stay out in front of them. He quick pitches or stalls or twists. I love watching him pitch, but he's Bartolo Colon.
The amazing thing about Bartolo Colon is when he was pitching and he was 48 years old, he was actually 54. we all know that.
In the Little League World Series.
You know, I follow Bartolo Colon on Instagram, and he wants to pitch again. I mean, he wants to go out there and pitch, and he always films all his workouts, and he can throw the ball pretty hard still. I mean, he's not like retired. He wants to come back and play again, which I think is unbelievable. It'd be great. I love Bartolo Colon. I loved him when he played for the Indians, not the Guardians. He played for the Indians. That's when I loved him.
Well, you can't play for the Guardians unless it was this year. Groovy T asks, is Efros going to be the guy in New York? Efros, by the way.
That's who I was just going to say. I mean, Chapman had a chance last night to hold down the job. Clay Holmes went on the DL. For those of you who don't know, with back issues, they can linger. So who knows when he's coming back. And Aroldis Chapman came in and promptly, crapped the bed because I have to not swear.
We don't talk about beds here.
That's right. And so
who hit the grand slam to win the game?
I think Efros is probably going to get the next opportunity to close. And if he does it well, that was going to be one of my pickups this week mentions, because he's a sneaky pickup. That's a really good point by you guys. I think he could get the opportunity. And now that the Yankees are winning again, they're not going to lose for a while. And so there'll be a lot of save opportunity.
They won one game.
That's all it takes.
That's called winning again.
It's not winning again.
No,
it's
Ross,
called lucky they won one game in the past.
You have to listen to this. Yankees fans are so winning. They're so used to winning that when they win one game, they're
winning again.
We're totally winning again.
Their team is in disarray, and you guys
their team is back. They were in disarray. They're fine.
All right, let's see. But I'm going to mention one other guy, Alexi Diaz of Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati's not getting a lot of saves, but Alexi Diaz is pitching great.
Edwin Diaz is relative.
They're brothers.
Yeah.
And they exchanged scorecards when they played each other.
Apparently, closing runs in the blood.
In New York. Yes.
All right, so listen.
Dan, I want to mention one Guardian if I can.
Please.
Who possibly?
Is it James Karinchak?
Clase is obviously the closer.
I'm
not looking at that.
You started breaking up.
Season where you're running out of innings.
You haven't played your Wi-Fi
those innings.
Repeat what you said about Clase. I didn't hear.
You started breaking up as soon as you mentioned the Guardians. The whole internet was like,
"Oh dear." Okay, no, I was going to say Clase is the closer. There's no question about that. I'm not looking for somebody who's going to get saved, but you're at the point of the season where you're running out of innings pitched. If you've been, putting your starters out there and your relievers out there, James Karinchak in the last 2 weeks has struck out 13 batters in 5 innings. If you can get that many Ks in few innings, that can help you gain points, valuable points coming down to the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. You've got to pick up in the counting stats, just like we've been saying. All right, Groovy T mentioned Sir Anthony Dominguez seems to be closing games over Robertson in Philadelphia, so that's something to look out for as well. Now, I wanted to leave a little bit of time especially for you, Ross, because I know you wanted to do this. You wanted to talk about some fantasy baseball awards, basically. So
what I'm going to do is we'll go position by position, and these are the guys that I felt had the best fantasy numbers at their position for the year. You guys can comment. I don't want to. I'll just
comment, and we'll be.
And you guys can say who your favorite person is in fantasy, and it doesn't have to go by total points. It could go by just somebody that is on your team that came through during bad times when your team was down. This guy came through for you. So the catcher position, it's been kind of weak this year, guys. I mean, there's no one great catcher that has unbelievable stats. Like last year, there was Perez. There's no Perez this year. So I'm taking Will Smith of the Dodgers. Will Smith is hitting over 270. He has about, I want to say 17, 18 home runs. I think he's leading the catchers in RBIs. But he's my fantasy catcher of the year. Thoughts?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you can argue for Will Smith. Certainly, I think he's the second-ranked catcher in Yahoo. I did mine a little different. I was looking at where you could have gotten them versus what they produced.
That's fine. Say it.
I thought Dalton Varsho was probably a more valuable catcher.
That's what I was going to say. Where you could get him.
He scored more runs, only had one fewer home runs, and contributed 8 stolen bases, and you could get him 60 picks later, so 5 rounds later. So I would have put Dalton Varsho.
And again, if you guys want to, if this is for next year, if you're in a keeper league, these are thoughts for keepers you can have. If you're in a dynasty league, maybe you make some late trades to get these guys on your team for next year. But these are just suggestions of guys that really peaked this year that can help your fantasy team even next year. So at first base, I have Paul Goldschmidt, who will probably win the MVP in the National League. I mean, he's hitting over 300. I think he's hitting like 330 or some crazy thing. 29 home runs. He has like 92 RBIs. He's just tearing it up. But, I mean, he's my number one fantasy first baseman for the year. Thoughts?
I totally agree with you. And partly because of Kasey's point last time, where could you get him? Freddie Freeman's not far behind him, but you couldn't get him in the same place. Even Pete Alonso, you couldn't get in the same place. Paul Goldschmidt was a value pick, and he ended up having this kind of season. I totally agree. Let's move on to second base just in the interest of time.
So Brandon Drury is my guy. I think he just came from nowhere. I mean, you probably could have picked him from waivers beginning of the year. Yeah. He's 267, 23 home runs. He's unbelievable. Great year. Trey Turner, I know he's a second baseman too. I mean, with his 20 stolen bases this year and over 300 average and 20 home runs, he's up there also. So I kind of have like 2 guys right there. What are your thoughts at second base?
Go ahead, Kasey. I like the Brandon Drury pick. Obviously, he qualifies at first, second, third outfield, so you can put him anywhere. And, I mean, he's a top 45 player in Yahoo for the year. So a top 36, I'm sorry. But I'd also include Andres Jimenez of the Guardians, who had a great year, batting over 300, stealing 15 bases and hitting almost 15 home runs. To get that in like I think we talked about him on the waiver wire. That's somebody you could have picked up off of waivers after the draft and gotten that value, the same as Brandon Drury.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him because now I don't have to sound like a homer in mentioning him, but he really has had a great season. Groovy T says, I drafted Goldie in the 4th round. That was obviously a tremendous pick. And he mentions Jeff McNeil as the comeback player of the year at second base. McNeil has looked quite good.
McNeil he had some bad weeks in fantasy, though. He's not flawless at all.
The problem is McNeil is a solid player, but he doesn't give you counting stats. Or he didn't give you the counting
horrible, stats. And I don't want to talk about people that are horrible fantasy players that have so much hype and people get so excited about and think he's the coming of the next big thing, is Wando Franco. I mean, he's somebody that, for me, if I had him, if I was a keeper league, I would not hold on to him. I don't want to say he's a bust, but in fantasy-wise and numbers and stuff, I wouldn't want him on my team. Thoughts?
I mean, I totally get it, especially in a redraft league. But if you're talking keepers and dynasty, it's a different story.
I think it's a little different. Keepers, 6 keepers, let's say. I probably would not keep Franco. I'm just being honest.
He's becoming fringe in that. But I think you still do with 6 players and his upside.
Ross the Boss would wave him so quick and make your head spin. Shortstop, this guy got a lot of money. The Mets opened the checkbook for this guy, and I thought it was a huge mistake. I'm wrong. Kasey Shienvold is right. Francisco Lindor, 271, 21 home runs, 83 RBIs, 12 stolen bases. For me, he's comeback player of the year, I think.
All right, now let me say something that's kind of hilarious, because a guy that I would mention, I agree with you on Lindor, by the way, but Ahmed Rosario, who was part of the Lindor deal, has been great for the Guardians. I mean, fantastic. So it's really the
only other guy I would mention is Dansby Swanson in Atlanta. I mean, the guy could be had in almost the 10th round or 11th round of drafts, and he was awesome. I mean, literally a top.
Ruby T just wrote Dansby Swanson with 3
Well, also, how about Adams? How about Adams for the Brewers?
Willie Adames. He was really good last year. He's only batting .221 on the year. That's going to be a ding against him. But he hit over 20 home runs, didn't drive in too many runs. But Dansby Swanson, 292 average, 16 home runs, 15 stolen bases in the 10th round is pretty incredible.
So at third base.
I just want to say, if you picked up Dansby Swanson earlier in the year, played him for months, and then traded him, you did the best you possibly could.
I mean, he had unbelievable. If you look at his June numbers, unbelievable. I mean, I think he was like 1 or 2 in fantasy. It was unbelievable. Austin Riley at third base is my top. There were a lot of good third basemen this year. I like Riley. He hit 288, 30 home runs. And that, we have another month to go. I think he'll be a top pick next year in fantasy. He was drafted very high by the Braves, and I think he proved it why. He's just going to get better and better. And right now he's the fantasy third baseman of the year for me.
All right, let's move to outfield.
Outfield, I just got to say one name. I mean, I'm just going to say Aaron Judge.
It has to be. I mean,
Ross,
I've come around to the idea that your MVP picks were totally perfect when you picked them.
I'm just mentioning Aaron Judge. He's having a dream season. There's a reason why he didn't take that big contract.
He has like 13 more home runs than anybody else in baseball right now.
I mean, I can't put anybody else on the same level than him right now. The only two outfielders, and I agree, Aaron Judge, I know I'm a Yankees homer, but Aaron Judge he's done it all. He's even chipped in 12 steals. But Adolis Garcia and Julio Rodriguez, where you could have drafted them, had you drafted them. Adolis Garcia, 19 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and a 254 average to go with decent runs scored and RBIs. And Julio Rodriguez, this rookie, everybody thought Kelenic was the big name coming up in Seattle's farm system a couple of years ago. Kelenic has been atrocious. Rodriguez, 19 home runs, 21 stolen bases, and a 266 average. And he was on the IL for a while. I mean, that kid.
That's an unbelievable.
For where you could have gotten him is incredible.
I mean, Kasey, he's going to be a first in these redraft leagues. He could be a first rounder. I mean, that's how
he would be. He'd be a top dynasty pick right now.
Maybe
the number one pick in dynasty.
But Ross is just saying on a redraft.
I know.
In a redraft, I mean, he's 21 years old, I think. He's 20 years old. He's very young.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree 100% with you. Let's go to starting pitching. My two guys, Justin Verlander and Tony Gonsolin. Gosselin's 15-1. He's a guy that you could have took in the 12th or 13th round in some of these leagues. Proving everybody that he's the real deal. And next year, he's going to be a top 5 pitcher to be taken for sure. So if I had to give the award out, I'd probably give it to both those guys because Verlander, did he play? He didn't even play last year. So
no, he didn't pitch last year.
This is his comeback year. He's 39 years old.
He's essentially Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady, and he's married to a model.
Right. He's essentially Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady. And he throws 100 miles an hour, which Brady can't do. But, I mean, he is the real deal. He'll probably win the Cy Young, I want to say, in the American League. And they say it's going to be the pitcher for the Marlins, the Sandy
Alcantara.
But I like Gonsolin just because he's 15-1. That's my personal pick, but I could be wrong.
I agree with those picks. I think Verlander was amazing. I mean, he was preseason, he was ranked 51, but everybody was afraid to pick him up. So you could have drafted him pretty late in drafts, and the value he gave you was incredible. I'll mention two. One for the Dodgers, Tyler Anderson.
Wow. Yeah.
This kid, you could have had him again after the draft as a waiver wire pick. He's the 38th ranked player in Yahoo for the season with a 2.81 ERA and a 1.0 whip to go with 13 wins. And then nasty Nestor Cortez for the Yankees, another guy who came out of nowhere, like was the afterthought of the Yankees rotation and has literally been their best pitcher all year long, has a 2.74 ERA and a 0.98 whip for the year. And again, you could have picked him up after the draft. You wouldn't have had to draft him. He would have been a waiver wire pickup.
I do think we have to mention Shane McClanahan also. He's had a tremendous year. We had a couple questions coming in. Groovy T says Jose Miranda, a keeper. We're going to get to that question in a second. He mentions J-Rod is so good, and Alcantara gives you more innings and consistency. So just some comments. We can talk about Jose Miranda as a keeper. Let's first cover relief pitchers, and then we got to wrap up on the Jose Miranda discussion and talking about our football schedule coming up.
So in relief pitching, I mean, it's been a weird year when relief pitchers, if you guys look at the stats and see how the saves that are going on, I mean, there's not like one clear winner. I'll take Hader just because he's on the Padres. He had a little downfall for about a week, but he's back. He'll be fine. I like him in September. I just feel he's probably the best fantasy guy. But if Holmes didn't have that downfall, I'd probably take him. But he looked horrible the past 2 weeks.
My pick's Edwin Diaz because
he's not a bad pick.
You could get him later, and he's striking out like 2 batters an inning.
Yeah, I'm not. There's no argument. Kasey, who's your favorite closer of the year for fantasy?
Well, I like Edwin Diaz a lot. He wasn't a closer to start the year, but Ryan Helsley has been one of the most valuable relief pitchers in fantasy baseball this year. He combined 12 saves, 7 wins, 72 Ks in 49 innings. That's amazing. And I mean, look, Paul Sewald for Seattle has also been great. Somebody Dan has touted now for a year and a half to give him props. Like he saw this one long before it actually happened. He's another one who not a lot of people were in on, and Dan was pretty smart and ahead of the curve on that one.
Well, I think we have to wrap up the entire show on that because you just complimented me, and I appreciate it. Guys, we're going to finish up. Jose Miranda, I do think, could be a keeper this year. This is the time of year where you get to watch them. Groovy T says Miranda reminds me of what Ty France was doing last year. And so he could be a smart keeper. He's also somebody to just keep in mind in redraft leagues to draft earlier than people might think to, because I think he's on an upward trajectory. Guys, we got to wrap up for now. It's been a great season. Remember, keep your comments coming. We'll give you advice on picking up on the waiver wire for the rest of the season. But we are shifting gears to football, at least to some degree. Our football draft is coming up Thursday, September 1st, and this will be recorded live. So it's coming up 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Check it out on September 1st, Thursday, September 1st. Our Monday waiver wire show for football is going to be at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 5:15 p.m. Pacific. And we look forward to seeing you on all the sports. We're going to open basketball, even hockey when it comes around to it, and then we'll be back for baseball starting in February. Guys, it has been a great year. Thanks so much for watching. Keep following us. Bring the questions. Bring the answers. Thanks so much, guys.
Hillcliff Octane. New flavor. Laser Lemon. Plus 125 milligrams of clean caffeine. No sugar.
25 milligrams of CBD.
Now available